Monster Energy Supercross fans, that's the one. That's the model race. That's what everyone wants to see when they buy their ticket every weekend or they tune on Fox Sports 1. That's the race that you hope your new girlfriend sees when you take her to her first ever Supercross and you're trying to convince her to go to more dirt bike races with you. It had it all. We had passes, we had mistakes, we had parity with multiple storylines and multiple potential winners, all building to a crescendo when the white flag came out. Jason Anderson and Ken Roczen were absolutely side by side, and that old Oakland Coliseum was probably on the verge of falling down like a Roman Coliseum because that stadium's old and those fans were loud. And how about it? Anderson knew he had an advantage in the whoops. He sent it. He made a mistake. It appeared to be advantage Roczen all the way to the checkered flag, and then Roczen bobbled in a rhythm lane. Anderson gets by and wins the race in dramatic fashion. It's everything you want to see. Look, the Triple Crown race, fans are on the fence. Some like it, some don't. Some people said, I like long races that come down to heart and determination at the end. We don't see races like that very often. Yes, they would be great if we would get them. But man, did we get it tonight in Oakland. That was spectacular. I'd say the only bad news on the parity front is that Anderson really was having an off day. Wasn't great even last weekend compared to his normal standards. Wasn't great in practice. Wasn't great in his heat race. So for him to come out and win the main event on what would have apparently been an off night for him, that's maybe making the championship picture a little bit more clear. Obviously, people would like to see that be a little bit more mixed up right now. And Eli Tomac, I think whatever small flame he was starting to build of getting those championship hopes heated up, it's back out now. He had a crash early in the race and then struggled, man. When Tomac crashes, the recovery usually not good. He ends up 13th. Marvin Musquin was ahead of Anderson. Anderson knocked him down. That's it. I mean, he just knocked him down. Now, everyone at the Baker's factory has been telling us that there is not drama. There's all respect and no problems between those two. That might have changed now. Musquin indicated to one of our post-race reporters that he wasn't too happy with the move. Anderson in the press conference said he'd rather not talk about it. And we heard that Cole Seeley pretty much stormed off. He was super mad because he almost had the race in hand. About halfway through, Seeley was controlling the gap. He was leading the race. He had already won his heat race. He was holding Roczen at bay. And then one mistake in a rhythm cost him big time, and he didn't even end up on the podium. And speaking of that, shout out to Blake Baggett, who gets up there on the Rocky Mountain ATV MC KTM. He was even challenging Anderson at one point, just to give you an idea of how much parity there was out there. So, Supercross, keep these tracks difficult, man. That's really the story 2 weeks in a row. Tough track at Glendale, great racing. Tough track at Oakland. They had steep rhythm lanes with short transitions, adding in the ruts. The race had kind of the feel of those mythical 1990s races on two-strokes that everyone likes to talk about. We didn't often see the great battles that everyone says we did back then. I mean, Jeremy McGrath dominated a lot of them. But you did see riders back then make mistakes. They weren't costly because they were going so slow that there wasn't great danger. And there was the same thing on this track. Because it was so tight and so rutted, they weren't going very fast. So even when riders had big mistakes, it wasn't anything that looked catastrophic. Sans one huge crash for Tyler Bowers. Hope he's okay from that one. But everything else, they were going slower. I don't think the fans thought there was any less exciting to watch that way. It was amazing. So keep these tracks tough and keep these guys determined, and we'll see what happens the next time. Is Anderson starting to now take over? We'll see what they have to say about that next weekend in San Diego.